I joined the church when I was 16 years old. That was back in 1991. My mother just passed away my sophomore year in high school, and up to this point, I was never religious. I believed in God. Didn't know a whole lot about Jesus Christ and His role. And it just happened to be one May day. I was out in my yard back in Connecticut, just doing some yard work, and two missionaries tracked it into my house and wanted to know if I wanted to learn about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, up to this point in my life, I've always had friends that were members of the church, on sports teams, just regular friendships. But when you're that age, you really never discuss religion or anything. It's just kind of not something you really do. But so the two elders came to my house and had the first discussion, and they asked me if I knew this guy. And I said, yeah, I know him. We play football together. We're playing the same backfield, and we're also in the same linebacking core. So would you mind having the second discussion at his house? I said, yeah, that's not a problem. And so had the second, back then it was discussions. It was 1 through 6. So I had discussions 2 through 6 at my buddy's house. And I think, excuse me, from the first discussion all the way till I got baptized, I think it was about a month. And then my buddy baptized me, and it was a great day. And I really felt at that moment this was, of course, it was the right thing to do. Not being religious or anything. When the church came into my life, I knew there was something special because I felt comfortable, unlike any other church I had ever been to prior. And so that was my sophomore year in high school, and I did the seminary thing, did the whole high school thing, which is difficult, and I graduated, and I really had no intention of serving a mission. I had my good buddy that baptized me and another friend. They left on their missions the summer after we graduated, and I still had no intention of going. I went off to school, came back, and then I realized I needed to do something. I was burnt out. To be honest, I was burnt out on school. I just needed to take a break. Wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I knew I had to do something, and it came to the point where I was like, well, I'll go and serve a mission, because I felt like I needed to pay it forward, that it was my responsibility to share the gospel like the missionaries shared the gospel with me. And I just felt it was a natural progression. And I knew that there was probably no expectations of me serving a mission, being the only member of my family. And even in my ward, I guess I figured that there was really no expectation, but I knew it was something that I had to do. So I submitted my papers, went through the whole process. About a month or so later, I think it was probably the summer of '94, the fall of '94, received my mission call, opened it up, Elder McKinney, you're going to the Fiji Suva mission, and I had no idea where Fiji was. So I opened up, back then there was no internet, so I had to open up an encyclopedia, found Fiji, and there was just a few paragraphs, the little picture of Fiji in the middle of the ocean, and I still had no idea where I was going. Just gave me a little background on it. But my young men's advisor, he was Tongan, and this is a guy that is pretty much my brother. Kind of took me under his wing. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, Danny, I got this call to Fiji." He was like, "Oh, you'll love it. It's close to Tonga. You'll love it. They'll love you. This is no better. This is the best calling for you. You'll love it." And I said, "All right, I love it. I'm excited to go." And then I ended up leaving December of 1994, Pearl Harbor Day, if you know your history. And I flew out, first time ever to Utah. in the dead of winter. Well, being from Connecticut, it wasn't really that bad, and there was 4 of us in my MTC group. There was a guy from Idaho, another guy from Washington, and this guy from Hawaii. And we became really close. We were kind of like the 4 Musketeers. And it was awesome, you know. And Fiji was an English-speaking mission, so I was only in the MTC for 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. And we had our little cultural class somewhere in there. It was a sister Snow. She had served in Fiji, and she had all her stuff and taught us the basics of the language and the culture. And so we did our 3 weeks, and then I got visa delayed. And so as my 3 buddies left for Fiji, I got sent to Sacramento, the California Sacramento mission, for about a month and a half, 2 months. And I really enjoyed that too. I really enjoyed being in Sacramento. It was a good place. And then the adventure started. And so my visa got processed, and I had to fly from Sacramento all the way to Fiji by myself. So I took a flight from Sacramento to LA, where I had a 7-hour layover all by myself. No one met me there. And being from a small town in Connecticut, now I'm stuck in this huge airport in LA, which was kind of traumatizing. I had to find my way from where I got off to my gate to get on my Air New Zealand flight, and I just kind of wandered the airport all by myself. But luckily, I found a member that pointed me to my gate, and I was sitting next to this brother from Samoa. And he didn't speak a lick of English, and I didn't speak any Samoan, but kind of just sat next to each other, and he knew who I was, and so we spent the 7 hours sitting next to each other until we got on the flight. And that flight was very long. I don't remember how long it was. It just seemed like an eternity. I had my one suit, because that's all we needed, was just one suit, and I flew all the way to Fiji, landed in Nadi. There's only one international airport in Fiji, and that's on the western side of Viti Levu, the main island. Nadi International Airport. Came out of the airplane, and I felt like someone wrapped me up in saran wrap and kicked me into a hot shower, because it was just that humid. And I was not used to that. Plus, being so close to the equator, it's kind of warm. But trying to be the good greenie, I kept my suit on as I was just dying from the heat. Got to the customs area, and funny story is my grandmother, she gave me this bottle of Vermont syrup, maple syrup. I don't know why she gave it to me. She gave me this bottle, and so I'm going through customs, and I'm trying to explain to the customs officer what maple syrup is. And we're just having, he spoke English, I spoke English, but we're just having this we just kind of hit this barrier. And it just got to the point he was just finished with me trying to explain what maple syrup was, and he let me through. So I come out of customs, and I grab my bags, and I'm looking in the airport, and I just see a sea of faces just like mine. So I'm thinking to myself, did I land in the right country? Because I was expecting more Tongan or Samoan looking. I wasn't expecting people that pretty much look like me, you know. And I'm like, wow, did I get off in the right country? I'm thinking I landed in Africa or something. And I'm looking through these sea of dark faces, and I'm hopefully I can see 2 Palangi faces, 2 white faces in the middle of all these, you know, black faces. And I'm looking, I'm not seeing anyone, and all of a sudden I see these two dingy white shirts, these 2 missionaries. One was Fijian, the other one was from New Caledonia, and they're smiling, looking at me. They're waving me to come on down. I was so relieved, and I walk on down, and it was Elder Tornbow and Elder Rangasamy, and they were so excited to meet me. I was so excited to finally meet someone from my mission, and they grabbed my bags, And we go out to the mission van, and there was my companion right there, and he was this cowboy from Afton, Wyoming. He had his dingy clothes on and his sandals, and he's like, "How you doing, Elder?" I'm like, "How you doing, Elder?" "I'm your trainer." I'm like, "All right, good to go." All right, and that was my very first day, and I'll never forget that day. I'll never